Mic check. All right. Hello and welcome to this evening's X Space, hosted by yours truly, Rosangel of Cafecito Break, Cozes of Cozes Wellness, and Mark 4NY, who will be joining us shortly. And this evening's conversation is the battle in New York. There are multiple battles happening here in New York. It's hard to keep track. Life is moving very, very quickly. We have the battle happening with Governor Hochul versus Trump and congestion pricing. We have the the mayor's race. The other word didn't want to come out. And the announcement that Governor Cuomo intends to officially run for mayor. I'm still dumbfounded about that. So as we start and continue to warm up the space, please take a moment to like, share, comment, invite someone to join us. This is an open chat today with the freedom fighters, and Matt and Monica, let us know if you want to join the chat. We're going to be speaking about Hochul and her comments, and Trump and Mayor Adams, and so much more that we hope that we can get into. But I like to, at this moment, pass the mic over to Cozy. Cozy, welcome. How are you? Hope you're feeling better today.
What's going on? Yes, much better. Yeah, there's a lot of news, as you said. We're going to be covering it all. Congestion pricing, the mayor's race, yes, Cuomo. Oh my God. But before I get into that, I just wanted to announce every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, you can find us here on Cafecito Break on X. The conversations are always entertaining. We mix it up with fun, entertaining, passion, anger, all of the above. We mix it all. Different types of guests. Sometimes we don't have guests and we just want to talk to each other. But you're always going to be amused. You're always going to be entertained, guaranteed. So come on through, spread the word. Um, and a few announcements. Well, Cafecito break. The Perez sisters are doing their Wednesday at Morelos happy hour. She can tell you more about it. And a lot of cool up and coming things. This Thursday, um, from 7 to 11 p.m., there's going to be a Dominican Independence Day celebration hosted by DVS and the new, I forgot what the name is, the Young Republicans Club. Sorry about that. You could find all that information. I'm going to put a link on the bottom in the comment section so you guys can check it out. Definitely come through and support. It's a great community, and you're going to be entertained. Celi Batista is going to be performing. From what I understand, it's going to be a band. So you'll hear her singing, you'll hear amazing instruments, and you'll have several different speakers. And just come on down, have good food, have good drinks, have a great time. Rose Angel.
Do you want to perhaps maybe do a little promo for your own brand?
Oh, absolutely. Check it out. Cozy's Pure Soaps. Come and get fresh. Come and get clean. Come and smell the amazing scents coming out of my soaps. You won't regret it. Soap up, soap up a loved one, soap up yourself, get clean. Listen, these are the best soaps, and I'm not saying it just because they're my soaps, but everybody will tell you so. Go check out Cozy's Pure Soaps on Instagram. I just put up testimonials. Just took screenshots of all the testimonials throughout the years. Great reviews. And yeah, soap up, get clean, don't be stinky.
Cozy, I have a testimonial that I'd like to offer. So I have purchased some of your soaps with the intention of giving them as gifts but I haven't seen these people yet. And I was like, oh, I'm not trying to have these soaps potentially not get used. So I started to indulge in the gifts. I shared them for myself. And so I have been loving the vanilla mint. It's amazing. I love how refreshing, and I love vanilla. And I also like how the soap feels like I'm also getting like a mini scrub. I had like an exfoliation kind of, and it's such a amazing experience. And plus, it's just such a lovely scent. You really do make excellent soaps. And I'm not saying that just because we're friends and we love you like a brother, but you really do make beautiful soaps. And everyone that you has ever purchased your soaps and has shared their testimonials with us, they love it. I mean, I, I remember being on the train and coming back with some of the soaps, and we gifted some to some people on the train because they were so enamored with the scent. And mi gente, this is also a way to support small business entrepreneurship and someone who had to create new ways of self-employment in these days where COVID and the shutdowns and getting our livelihoods displaced. It sucks, but the beauty is you get to recreate anew, and Cozy has truly created something really beautiful with his soaps.
Thank you, thank you.
And
Yes, yes, please
oh, you're
support.
welcome.
That is my main job right now. So that's the way I'm supporting myself and paying my bills. So your support is definitely super appreciated. And thank you. And yes, you were not paid to promote my soaps. That's just being clear. Thank you.
That's so funny. And the other thing is that we are doing the Press Sisters. We are doing a hosting of happy hour at a local restaurant in Brooklyn. Grand Morelos is a Mexican restaurant. It's a 3-in-1 actually. They have Mexican cuisine, American cuisine. They also have a diner with yummy, yummy treats. And we've been hanging out there Wednesdays doing our lives. It's also a partnership that we have with the restaurant where we are helping to promote a small business that did get hit hard during the COVID mandates. They used to be 24 hours. Wouldn't it be lovely for them to start making such great revenue again that they could have that option if they wanted to? So this is the way that we're here co-creating and building from, I guess, the ashes. And also thank you, Cozy, for mentioning that yes, Cafecito Break is celebrating 13 years. Our podcast baby was born on the airwaves March 8th, 2025, on International Women's Day. And I didn't realize how significant that would be throughout the years, but we're really happy with that. If for anyone who'd like to make a donation or support the sisters, you could do so in many ways, from the free ways with like, share, subscribes, or me becoming a member on a Substack or making a donation. Everything helps our independent platform. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the show John. Welcome. How are you? And I'm going to bring you up in a moment, Monica.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Long time. Sorry I missed the last few weeks. I've been a little busy. Yeah, I'm just here for the conversation. I just want to hear about it. I want to hear about get the guys' thoughts on the mayoral race, about Andrew Cuomo, about the Democrats endorsing Andrew Cuomo, about the Republicans throwing their support behind Eric Adams, about Kathy Hochul. We don't know where the hell she is or what she's doing. So just excited to like get into the conversation with you guys. So thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Uh, let's get started. I mean, Cozy, do you have a preference as to which story we jump into
Yeah,
first?
let's talk about the mayor's race since that was the one that was brought up.
Let's do it.
Mayor's race. Okay, the fact that Andrew Cuomo has the balls, has the guts to show his sleazy, disgusting, tyrannical face on the scene again blows my mind. The fact that he has the courage and the audacity to show his face and say he's running for public office, and the fact that New Yorkers, the Fluoride sipping, fluoride guzzling New Yorkers are going to vote for this monster, this swamp creature, this sleazy dirtbag. And these words, I'm holding back from what I feel about this man, who's a obnoxious, arrogant tyrant. Okay, we need to remind New Yorkers that this man was responsible for putting COVID positive patients in nursing homes at the height, at the peak of the pandemic. We have to remind themselves of all these women who came out accusing him of sexual harassment. Now, I know that happens all the time with politicians, like a lot of women do lie, but are they all lying? I find that hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that all these women are lying, every single one. Okay. And then he had the nerve to come out, and he wasn't doing himself a favor when he actually made a collage. I need to find this collage. His team put out a freaking a collage of videos and clips of him kissing and hugging people on the cheek. He was kissing women, kissing men, kissing dogs, kissing grandmas, kissing everything. This wasn't doing him any good. And then he had the nerve, oh, it's not, I'm not a pervert, it's just my culture, we kiss. It's like saying, I'm not a pervert, I'm Italian. How dare you, how dare you say that, dirtbag? John or Rosangel, who wants to talk?
I'll pass it on to John. I'm composing my the heat that's running
And
through
wait,
my
wait,
body.
before John goes, I got to remind people the reason I hate this man with a passion.
But
The
tell us how
reason
you
I hate
feel.
this man with a passion is because he removed religious exemptions from children. And I will never forgive this scumbag for doing that. He literally strong armed the entire assembly. He was bullying people. I heard it. I've heard it. Okay. I'm not going to say more, but I was told what a bully he was, forcing them to do it against their will. They had no backbone, but this guy moves almost like a mobster. Okay. They were scared of him. Uh, but he's a scumbag. Andrew, sit your ass down. We fucking hate you. Next.
Yeah, listen, unfortunately, I think Andrew Cuomo's the front runner by a lot. I mean, in every poll, they got him polling in at about 30% of when you look at any Democratic polls. So, I mean, a big portion of that too is, and a lot of with the religious exemptions as well, is you got to really blame. I mean, I'm still disgusted with Nicole Malliotakis for switching her vote at the last second, when she told parents, I would never vote against parents, and then she went in the next day and voted against parents. And I'll never forget that. And that's when she was in the assembly, and that's really when I started to take a deeper look at the Republican Party. I think, when we look at the mayor race, we really have to look at what's going on, the history of mayor races. I consistently hear that a Republican cannot win in New York City. And I just could not tell you that I just do not believe that at all. You get about 8% voter turnout in New York City. And that is in large part because there are not candidates that people want to come out and vote for. I do believe that there are conservative Republican people who could sway Democrat liberal voters if they had a solid platform and a solid message. However, what you see when you see independent candidates run in New York City is they're completely shut out. They're completely shut out of the big money in New York City. They're completely shut out of the big media in New York City. And that you'll see on both sides, right? You'll see common sense Democrats, and they're completely shut out from the Democrat Party, and you'll see common sense viable candidates in the Republican Party, and they'll be completely shut out. And I've been saying it for a while, and it gets a lot of, it angers a lot of people on the right when I say it, but it's true as day that the right in New York City runs elections to run elections, to campaign, to fundraise, and to lose that election. Everyone and their mother says there is no way in hell that Curtis Lee was going to win in that election, including the people that are running Curtis Lewa. So why the hell is Curtis Lewa the Republican nominee? Why is Curtis Sliwa going to get that GOP line? What has the Republican Party, the conservative, well, I'm not going to mention them, but the Republican Party, what have they done in New York City to recruit and attract new talent, to try to bring up younger candidates, to try to find viable candidates that could win elections in New York City? And so now here we are. You look at this mayoral race and the two top Democrats, and possibly the top Democrat and the top Republican, because I'm still not sold that Eric Adams isn't going to run as a Republican. You look at the two top Democrats, let's just say, you look at that, you look at Eric Adams, the most corrupt, the most incompetent mayor in New York City history. I'm not going to get into why it is. He's the first mayor that has been indicted. He's the first mayor to ever have four police commissioners in one term. I mean, the list goes on. He's lost his entire staff about three times over already. The guy's completely incompetent. He's done nothing. He forced all of basically thousands of people out of our careers. He incentivized hundreds of thousands of people to leave New York City. He welcomed the whole world there. He was throwing out unvaccinated workers while fighting to get unvaccinated illegals to work, and he's still doing that till today. Even though he's buttoning up, kissing Trump's ass, and they're all pretending like everything's lottie dottie. But when you look at this, and you gotta like see what's happening here, right? Richie Torres, Congressman Richie Torres from the Bronx, comes out today and endorses Andrew Cuomo. 2025, he endorses Andrew Cuomo for mayor. But in 2021, Richie Torres called for Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign. So I'm like, why are we recycling these people? Why are people saying, "Oh, Cuomo's going to be better than Adams. Adams will be better than Cuomo"? They're horrible. Now, I like Curtis Lewa. Curtis Lewa is a New Yorker. He's been out on the streets since before I was born. I like him. I like him a lot. But if he can't win the election, if the Conservative Party and the Republican Party are telling you that he cannot win an election, why the fuck is he the candidate? Why is he getting the big money? Why is he getting the big media? Why is he getting the endorsements? And then you look at, well, let's look at Katzimatidis. John Katzimatidis basically controls the GOP in New York. 770 WABC, supposedly conservative talk radio, right? Supposedly. I'll be the first to tell you it's the furthest thing from conservative talk radio, but whatever. That's up to opinion, and that's just how I feel about it. But he's going to come out, and he's going to come out. He was a huge supporter of Eric Adams publicly, behind the scenes, donation wise. He is one of the largest Democrat donors you have in New York. He is the big money supposed Republican donor, conservative Republican donor, right? So him and his wife donate all the money to Holtsville, Cuomo, all these people. He's going to come out and endorse Cuomo over his own guy that works for him in the radio, who he supposedly likes, Curtis Lee, right? And then he just did the similar thing in Staten Island. He came out and he supported Vito Fosella's son over his own radio host Frank Morano, right? And you look at this and you're like, what the hell is going on? What's going on? And then we look at the last election. Conservative Party in New York State does not endorse Sliwa, right? And they run Bill Pepitone. I was a big fan of Bill Pepitone, but he couldn't get the media and he couldn't get the money to win, right? And what is he doing? He's vying votes away from Sliwa. So I'm sitting here and I like New York City is in bleak, dire straits because there is a political machine that is a uniparty, and it's being controlled by these New York Republican clubs, all of them. Name one, and I'm going to tell you that they're working hand in hand with the Democrats, and they're running Republicans to lose. And and it's clear as day. It's clear as day. And I just don't see a good thing in this election. I mean, when the GOP is sitting there and telling you that Curtis Lewa doesn't have a shot, when the Conservative Party's telling you Curtis Lewa doesn't have a shot, and yet we're supposed to sit here and be like, oh, let's all vote for Curtis Lewa. If he's not getting people out to the polls, if he's not getting new voters out, if he's not getting people out that don't traditionally vote, if he's not swaying any Democrats and liberals, if he's not even keeping and maintaining his GOP base, how the hell could we ever have a two-party system or balance inside of New York City's government? We can't. And this is the game. It's a political machine that's being propped up. We've all been gaslit on all sides, and I'm just sick to my stomach watching it, and that's where I am right now.
I feel the same because there's no stability in any facet of the New York government system, and maybe that's for the benefit of New Yorkers in the long run, just not at the moment as everything seems to be crumbling down. I just wanted to quickly reference Governor Cuomo, the Oversight Committee notes. According to the Oversight Committee notes, not only did Cuomo kill thousands of elderly, he covered up the data and hid it from the feds. Cuomo killed thousands of elderly patients in nursing homes with his edict, forcing COVID infected individuals back into the elderly care facilities. Um, I don't think that however we move forward, excuse me, when it comes to Cuomo, I think that he needs to face this and I hope that he does. And I know that he wasn't alone. And I wonder how much of a connection and a closeness Hochul had to this, you know, since she slid into his position shortly afterwards. And here's my question to Cozy and John. Then, from the people that are saying that they are interested in the mayor becoming mayor, from the ones that we haven't really spoken about, I know you've interviewed Jim Walden. Like, who are your favorites? Who do you think is going to win? Cozy.
I don't have any favorites right now. I mean, listen, the only like John said, the only real contenders that they're gonna give us, right, are Cuomo and Eric Adams, and they'll probably throw in. I mean, I know Jessica Ramos was gonna run, but if Cuomo comes, he's gonna overshadow all of them because these women in New York are just disgusting. They're disgusting. They were calling themselves Cuomo sexuals as something like he's a sex fucking icon. He's does any woman think this guy is sexy, or is he just creating this shit on his own? Like, do they really feel like women here, right here? I know you guys are not are not Democrats here, but can you see the possibility of this man looking sexy? Because when I look at him, I just see grease.
Okay, because I don't know if John's gonna feel comfortable answering that question and since I have the appropriate matching part, I figured maybe I should go for it. Uh, okay, I remember when everybody was romanticizing the Cuomo brothers. I think it came from the fact that we were in lockdown mode, fear was really high, people didn't know what was going on, and the protector, naturally want to feel protected, and he was there commanding the space, giving his daily, press conferences. Bada bing, bada boom. And I think that felt really like, wow, he cares. He's just there. It doesn't matter. He's just showing up and he's showing up for New York and he's being like Big Papa. We love this. And so I don't know if it was because they actually found him visually attractive. I think it was what role he was playing. He was being big alpha in the sea of, we don't really see that too much in certain places. And that's where I'll land my little avioncito. Cozy.
Yeah, it's definitely that for the weak Democrat ladies there, and it was also the fact that he was fighting with Trump, right? So like they got turned on by that because they're like, wow, he's stepping up to the monster Trump. You know what I mean? That's what it was, and they were loving it. They were fighting back between federal funds, right? And like, who has the what were those death chambers called? I can't even think right now. The oh my god, the I can't think of the machine. The incubating machines, like the can't somebody help me here? Can't think. But you know, they were putting them on the machines, the respirating freaking things. What do you?
The
Yeah, but there was a
respirators.
specific name. I'm
They,
totally blanking right now. But anyway,
it'll
you
come
get what
to
I'm
me.
saying. But they were fighting over that shit that was killing people. Ventilators. There you go. Um, so like, you know, there was a whole back and forth with that. So they were loving it. But anyway, back to the actual question, right? Is like, who's your favorite? I don't have any favorites. Okay. Because nobody's stepping up. And if the people who do step up, like anybody who's not, like John was saying, like anybody who's not part of their club, basically I know for a fact what John is saying is absolute truth, that these Republicans in New York are working with the Democrats. I know that. Okay. And the problem is anybody who does, like a Kara stepping up, okay, somebody like Mark for NY, somebody like John Matlin steps up, guess what they do to them? Oh no, your signatures don't count. Oh no, 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 this is wrong, this is wrong, you put the wrong town in, all types of bullshit. And then they bankrupt you. They freaking bankrupt you. Remember that woman who ran against Hoylman? um, I'm blanking too much today. Sorry, guys, but uh, yeah, I can't. To the tip of my tongue. But anyway, there was a woman who one of our friends ran against Hoylman. She came damn pretty close, but she lost because they have a lot of money, they have a lot of support, and they control. You know, they have the lawyers that will break you down. It's run like a freaking mafia, and I fucking hate it. So you know, even if we have great people, we need to create something here, man. Like we need to create our own club, and we have to get real candidates and really put money behind them. We really need to, because that's what it is ultimately. It's who has the money. I know these people have throw billions in, millions upon millions of dollars, and it's so hard to go up against the propaganda on the TV. It's hard to like go up against the flyers, the amount of flyers they can put out. It really comes down to money. You could be the shittiest candidate, but if you have a lot of money and you could put your face all over the fucking street, you're gonna win. You're gonna win.
So, you know, I just think I don't think it's all about the money. I think a lot of it has to do with the media and the exposure that you're going to get, and big definitely with the signatures and having boots on the ground and having a legal action and a legal team behind you. I'm just gonna put it out there because it's been fucking bothering me for weeks, and not weeks but days. I was approached by a small political party to run for mayor in New York City, and basically I was told that, and I was contemplating it, but I said that I wouldn't do it to split votes or to take votes away from Curtis Lewa. I refuse to be ran as a patsy. If I'm going to run, I don't want to run at the starting line, and I don't want to run. Um, I don't want to run to lose. And basically, what I was told is, well, you won't be the mayor. I'm like, so then why are you asking me to run for mayor? Why would you ask me? Why would you ask me to go to everyone that I that supports me, every one of my friends and family, and tell them, donate to me, go out on the ground, knock on doors, and I don't have a shot to win? Why would I do that? What would be the cause of that? Why wouldn't there be a united front? Why would I put myself into a position where I'm going to get shut out by the media? I'm going to be fighting with people I align with, and I'm going to be stealing votes from people I align with. Now, do I like anybody in the race? Like I said, I like Curtis Lewa, I do, but the GOP is saying he's not viable and he can't win. So when I look at who's on that ballot and who's on that slate, I mean, there's only one guy for me that I see, and it's Jim Walden, public defender, Eastern District prosecutor for over 20 years. Really came from nothing, built his own life, built his own law firm, worked in civil service. Do I agree with him on absolutely everything? No, but I would say I agree with him on most things. And he said something that Donald Trump stole after him. He said, "I'm gonna," and Donald Trump reinstated all of the military workers who were fired over the COVID-19 refusal to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Jim Walden has came out and said he will reinstate and compensate all the city workers with an apology, and he did that prior to Donald Trump getting into office. So. I think on public safety, I think on integrity, I think on public corruption, Jim Walden appears to be the only adult in the room. He's the only professional in the room. He is not a politician. He's not a career politician. And so to me, when I look, I'm like, this is the only guy who's actually competent enough to be the mayor. Now, again, you don't need to be competent to be the mayor because look, we've had Eric Adams, we've had Bill de Blasio, right? These are two of the most incompetent people New York City has ever came out with, right? I mean, I'm not kidding. I could run through the list of people that I grew up with or that I worked with or that I lived around, and it would be hard pressed for me to find somebody as incompetent as a Bill de Blasio or as an Eric Adams. These are highly convicted, easily corruptible individuals. But when I sit there and I'm watching this, it's all a game, dude. It's all a game. And I've been saying it for 3 years. We run people in this city to lose. You got Stephanie on here, right? Stephanie ran. She was running against Carl Hasty. Where was any backing for her? Like, hey, wow, this girl will actually push our message. This girl could actually help us in New York. If we just helped her, they don't even have to give her money. They don't even have to give her money. All you got to do is help propel her voice, right? Retweet a tweet. They don't even do that. And so I'm like, I've been saying for 3 years that we run people in the city to lose. They don't want to win elections. They're not trying to win elections. They're trying to gaslight people to fundraise to keep the game going because it's all a political machine in New York. And sure enough, I get an offer to run for the mayor of New York City, and I'm like, is this God? Is this God? Is this like God telling me to run? And ultimately, when I sat and I thought about it and I prayed about it, and I'm like, am I gonna do this? Am I gonna really do this? And I'm like, no, because you know why I'm not gonna do this? Because I'm being asked to run to lose, which is exactly what I said that we do. I'm being asked to run to ensure that the people that have destroyed the city, that have ruined my life and the lives of thousands of others, will continue to control the city. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, but don't worry, because you know what? I'll be a national figure after that. And then maybe down the road, maybe we'll get you in another seat or something. Ain't gonna be me, bro.
Wow. I mean, contemplating you as a mayor, uh, goodness gracious. John, I think that one of the things that I respect and admire about you is that you are a man of faith, integrity. You are not afraid of being challenged, or you welcome people debating your ideas or challenging you, and you don't shy away from any of that. And you have obviously already have a proven track record of leadership. And many of those things are sadly missing from a lot of the leadership that we see today, including what is one of my greatest gripes that call forward thinking. Like, what am I doing here and how can this affect New Yorkers, for example? Like when Eric Adams invited everyone, they could even stay in Gracie Mansion. We all knew, common sense thinking people, that that was a virtual signal. We all knew that he had no freaking clue, or didn't even care what that could potentially mean and how that could potentially destabilize New York City. So, how did you feel when let me see if I could play it so we can hear the best mayor of the globe in his own words. So, let me see if you guys can hear this.
Announcing the Roosevelt Hotel, which served as both our asylum arrival center and the humanitarian emergency response and relief center for nearly 2 years, will be closing in the coming months. Thanks to the successful strategies we put in place here in New York City, and because of policies we advocated for at the border, the Roosevelt Hotel was opened in May 2023 during the height of the crisis, with the city receiving an average of 4,000 arrivals each week. Now, thanks to our policies, we're down to an average of just 350 new arrivals each week. And while we're not done caring for those who came into our care, today marks another milestone in demonstrating the immense progress we have achieved in turning the corner on the unprecedented international humanitarian effort. Our administration has skillfully managed this crisis, which has seen over 232,000 migrants.
Thank God he stopped that.
Okay. So, so, and any comments, John?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds great. I mean, he's the guy that he called the white supremacist, the guy that he called a clown. He should be the one that actually was calling to close the borders while he was advocating to keep the borders open. He should thank him. That guy's name's Donald Trump. He should absolutely thank him for that. But the bigger problem is, I think, when we look at Eric Adams, I just want to point a note before I go back to this migrant thing. Eric Adams, for months, has not had a federal security clearance, meaning that he is unaware of any terrorist attacks that could happen in New York City. The federal government cannot tell him about any acts of terrorism that are coming. Same's true for at least two of his former police commissioners and top ranking officials in the NYPD. So Eric Adams always says that he's the pilot and he's flying the plane. Well, he's flying the plane blindfolded with his handcuffed and earmuffs on. So that's the plane that's being flown in New York City right now. And our incompetent governor, Kathy Hochul, is too afraid of Al Sharpton and the black vote to actually be a leader as well. So millions of lives are being endangered every day because we want to play politics. We don't want to have a special election. We want to ensure a Cuomo victory into the mayor. But now let's go back on the migrant crisis. Let's go back to that. The man advocated for open borders for 3.5 years. I mean, you could go on my Twitter. I've played every clip the guy've ever said, demonizing everyone, calling. If we just called for common sense, like where we just can't have the whole world come here. You were xenophobic and you hated people and you were racist and you were white supremacist and all these things that now he's pretending like he's done for 3 years. I have no problem when someone changes their mind, but just admit you had a different position for the last 3.5 years, which he refuses. He's like, oh, this is all because of what happened to me. So crime's going down in Midtown Manhattan because obviously people are afraid of the Trump administration, afraid of the deportations, and that's a good thing. But I have a big problem because there's a lot of gaslighting around New York City Mayor Eric Adams. There's a lot of gaslighting coming from the Trump administration because if illegal immigration is no longer a problem, and if the Roosevelt Hotel is being closed down, why did New York City in January, I believe it was 24th of 2025, I believe so. I could be wrong about the date, but it was definitely in January 2025. They just renewed. I'm sorry, they didn't renew. They gave a 1.5 billion dollar contract to the New York City Hotel Owners Association. And what that 1.5 billion dollars is for 1 year, and it's to house illegal immigrants. And it has a renewal period of up to 3 years. I'm just talking New York City, 5 boroughs. So if this is all solved, then we're shutting down the Roosevelt Hotel, then why did we just fund another $1.5 billion to house illegal immigrants that supposedly New York City only keeps in there for 60 days? And this is being done under the Trump administration. I'm not lost sight of that. Listen, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times. I'm not going to lie. The fact that they moved and the way they moved to drop the charges on Eric Adams, that should raise everybody's eyebrows. When you had a lifelong conservative say that this is completely illegal, I can't just drop charges based on the fact that you want to dangle a crime over Eric Adams' head, because it's wrong to do to him as the accused, and it's also wrong to do to the victims of the crime, and to the fact that we had a grand jury who indicted him. And this is not legal in this country. And they painted her out to be a lefty lib. And this was the Trump administration that did that. Oh, everybody will follow lawful orders, but she clearly labeled out how it wasn't a lawful order. In my opinion, she acted with complete integrity. She was a Trump appointed DOJ U.S. Manhattan attorney's assistant. Everybody loses sight of that. So I'm like, oh, so Trump pointed a lefty, is what you're saying. So they completely demonized this woman. The case investigator for the case, another lifelong conservative Republican, 2 times Bronze Star winner, 3 times combat veteran overseas, says, I understand that the president's a businessman, and I understand that he may think that leverage is a good thing. And to do that, to use Eric Adams' leverage against him as being a good thing, as a good business strategy, I understand that. He goes, but every lawyer knows, and every U.S. attorney should know that that is completely illegal. So it's not going to be through me. And what they did, guess what? They painted him out to be a lefty too, and that is disgraceful. So I'm sitting here and I'm saying, "Oh, congratulations, you did great, Mr. Eric Adams. Why did you just sign a $1.5 billion contract with a renewal period of up to 3 years? If now you solve stuff and we only keep people in the system for 60 days, who's coming here? Who's coming here for the next 3 years that we're going to give $1.5 billion a year to the New York City Hotel Owners Association? And I wonder what name might pop up in the New York City Hotel Owners Association. I wonder.
I'm wondering that too. Cozy, do you have a response? And I see that Jacob has requested to maybe participate in this conversation. I am going to add you as a speaker. Cozy?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have a response because I had to answer a phone call. I apologize for that. And so I wasn't really following.
Let's say you're dead to me, Cozy.
Sorry about that, man. It was my daughter. I have to always answer when my daughter calls.
Hello, everyone. This is Jacob Ingles with the Gateway Pundit and Infowars, and I just wanted to kind of give my 2 cents. And I know I'm not a native New Yorker. I love the state. I love the city. But I think what John was talking about when he was going through the thought process of people want me to run, maybe want me to go on a fool's errand. I think that's a very, very good point to make. And when you think about what you guys are going through, you almost have to have somebody who's got $50 million to blow, doesn't care about losing, can go and crisscross the entire city and raise awareness about what's happening for the people that are not politically involved. And I just kind of wonder, from an outsider looking in, down here in Florida, we're used to the idea of, New York City residents. You're brash. You're very forward in the way that you communicate and express yourselves. What do you guys think is going on with a lot of your other neighbors who just don't seem to read the writing on the wall with the violence, with the crime, with the corruption? If somebody could give me a little bit of a response to that, I'd love to hear it.
John, did you want to respond first?
Sure, I could respond. So again, I think that all of this stuff that's happening in New York City is politically created, and I think that the New York City voters get blamed a lot for not being given a choice and not being well informed. I think the media has been taken in New York City. That is the supposed conservative media that donates more to far left candidates than they do to right leaning, common sense conservatives. And I think that, again, I'm going to say it again. The supposed opposition, the supposed Republican Party in New York runs candidates to lose. And so I can't blame the New York City voters because they don't even actually go out and vote. Because when you look at the voter registration, you look at the rolls, when you look at mayoral elections, you get about 8% of the people go out to vote. And you're saying, well, what the hell's happening here? Why can't we get more than 8% people out of the vote? So if I only get, say you run for mayor and you only get 10%, you get a brand new 10% of the people out to vote, you'll be the mayor. I mean, it's not a hard task to do, but the thing is, it's a hard task to inform. So when the media is controlled, when the candidates are controlled, when the people that have common sense and are independent are shut out or are ran to lose and pitted against each other, right? And you're going against these far left candidates, but you actually have a conservative candidate running against the Republican candidate, and you two drowned each other out, you're you're running the election to lose. And then how could you blame anyone? You're like, okay, then that's what's happened in New York City is there is a political machine, and the political machine favors Democrats.
Okay, so that's a great response, John. And Jacob, that's a great question. First of all, I'd like to say that we welcome those type of insights, and also the support from folks like yourself, because one of our greatest gripes here in New York, as New York has been the center of many of the the madness that keeps and inspires sometimes other states to do the same. We have realized, and I'm speaking from the part of just being, producing independent media and podcasts for 13 years now. Uh, One of my early clues was that whatever we were covering locally, sometimes I would find out. Let me just give you how divided the media is, and I know this won't surprise you. There were times that I found out that somebody was hit by on a train down the block from where I live, and that report was coming from the UK. When I found out about what was going on with the measles outbreak, and then the testing zones that would later we learned were sort of like they were, I guess, rolling out a testing ground to see how they would roll out the COVID mandates. I first discovered that story from my co-host in Texas. And whenever, for just another little example, when there are local elections, there are there's such little coverage. So there's little coverage of whoever is running, and then the favorite candidate is plastered everywhere. And let's not forget, because there is such a strong hold here of Democrats, there has been also a multi-pronged approach of indoctrinating people, and from the education standpoint, activism in church, of just how terrible being a Republican is, hateful, and also that voting is a waste of time. That when you vote, you're casting your vote to the Amasta. You get what I'm saying? So that kind of programming is like, why am I gonna vote? It's just like a waste of time. So people sit it out.
Well,
So this is kind of what I wanted to offer as just my insights.
and I think
Yes, Jacob.
no, and I think something else that's important. A lot of people around the country, they think about political campaigns and they think, well, I've volunteered on a campaign before. I've gone out and knocked doors. I've gone to events. I've done a lot of the normal things that a campaign or a candidate will do during an election. But for people who don't live in a big metropolitan area like New York City, we don't think about barriers to entry for a candidate. For example, with a place like New York City, how many apartment complexes, how many living situations where you can't go and knock door to door? You can't get through the front door. You can't get access to the apartment building. So now you're placed in a situation where if you don't have millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars to run media campaigns or direct mail or any other way to get to the voters, you're at a loss from the start. It's not like Florida. You could live in Orlando, big metropolitan area, but the majority of that area, we can walk freely and go into neighborhoods. We don't have to get through a gate. We don't have to get in through the lobby and go upstairs and have access from a resident. And I think a lot of people just don't understand how different a campaign for mayor in New York City is than even in an Orlando or a Miami or any other big metropolitan area across the United States. And that's why that need for all of the money and funding behind a candidate is so crucial, because you guys have limited ways to reach the voters. And then when you don't have somebody who comes forward with, a huge personal net worth or ability to raise money and not get robbed by consultants, I mean, I just feel like I wanted to say that because you guys are working against the grain from the start on so many levels. So when people say, "Oh, what the hell's going on with New York? These people can't get it together," you know, what are the citizens doing? I don't really think they understand that aspect of campaigning for mayor or city council, alderman, representative, state senator, whatever, in a place like New York.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jacob. To add to your point, one of the things you didn't mention, which is the most difficult task that differentiates New York from other places, is getting signatures to get on the ballot itself. And the mayoral candidacy is, it's not as hard as obviously a governor race with statewide with the signatures. When I was running for U.S. Senate, the signature requirement was 15,000. So there were a lot of candidates for mayor in the last election that couldn't get the signature requirement. We had a lot of Republican candidates aside from, Curtis Lewa, and to go back to what John said, the conservative and Republican Party working against each other. That was only because Curtis Lewa didn't even contact the Conservative Party of New York for an endorsement. So a lot of times the conservative and Republican Party do work together. But when it comes to New York, less than 20% of people in New York as a whole vote at all for either. I mean, that's both Democrat and Republican registered voters, less than 20%. It was 15, then I think it went up to 18, but you still have a lot of people that stay home. And if you're a Republican, a lot of people stay home because they feel that the voting is pointless. It's like, oh, we have a chance to win, we need everyone to go vote, and then we end up getting 25% of the vote. And lose in a landslide. So it was like Republicans are like, yeah, we heard this story before that we have a chance to win, and it's usually, not the case. So I know Steph's. I accepted your speaker request, but I'm just coming on the show late, so I'll pass it over to you shortly. There's a lot of things that I wanted to say. I just got a chance to speak, so. But yeah, so it does make it a lot more complicated. And when you talk about consultants rob everybody, because I did everything myself because it's not that complicated to learn how to do everything yourself. Consultants will charge like $5,000 to do something that takes 5 minutes online, and people just don't realize that. Like, there's a lot of things that are very simple, but the concept of running for office is just so overwhelming that, they don't, if you don't know what to do, you're willing to pay somebody else to do it, thinking it's a complicated process, and it really isn't. And a lot of it is just, I've seen these consultants, all they're doing is basically patting somebody on the back and giving them an ego. "Oh, yeah, that was a great speech. Yeah, you did this and you did that." And it's like, all that money is going torn away, which leads me to, thrown away, excuse me, and which leads me to Cuomo, because, um, first of all, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm doing my trucking job, and I had to get to a certain point before I could take a break. But I do want to touch on the Cuomo thing. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, does he think there's a statute of limitations for mass murder? Because, it's not just gross light negligence here with that whole nursing home thing. So I don't know why he got away with murder literally, and he's putting himself back onto the spotlight. And part of that is because politics is a money making machine. If you're one of those corrupt politicians, you don't care if you lose. They want somebody to run And with the mayoral race in New York City, we have matching funds 8-1 now on for everything, every city election from city council to mayor, uh, public advocate, etc. There's a cap, but with the mayoral race, I think it's well over $1 million that they end up matching. So there's a lot of city funds out there. Um, that gets matched, and you're making, I think, 250. If you raise 250,000, you get 2 million. So I could be wrong on those numbers. They changed it. It's probably different from 4 years ago, but I believe that's what it was 4 years ago. So, and basically people pay their friends who are consultants and don't really do anything. So there's a lot of corruption there on the financing side, especially when it comes to the city election. So I don't know if that's what he's doing, and it's usually the Democrat show. And I said it before, in New York City, if Jesus Christ ran as a Republican, he would probably still lose because unfortunately, people see the R on the ballot and they won't vote for the person, no matter what the case may be. And I know that's difficult to believe, but New York City, a lot of people they get their politics from Comedy Central and Hollywood and the mainstream media. A lot of people that live in New York, they don't even watch CNN. They don't even watch the news. They just hear the mainstream narrative that Republicans are racist and they go with it. And they hear it from their professors and they hear it from, their teachers in high school. They were groomed to think Republicans are racist. And when they get a chance to vote, all these people who go to NYU, come from all the different places around the country and move to New York, all these young people, they will vote blue down the line, no matter what the case may be. So I'm going to take a break from talking. I know I've been talking for a while, but I do want to talk about Hochul and the congestion pricing down the road. I don't know if you guys got into that yet, but I'll pass it on to Steph's for a bit, and then I'll hop back on in a little bit. So welcome, Steph's NY.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much. Thanks for allowing me to speak this evening. I did want to speak about what it is going door to door, and the comment you made about going into apartment buildings is absolutely true. But the housing communities, the people are very nice and they're open to conversation. So I implore anyone who wants to run for New York City office, start at the housing communities. These people, I was fortunate enough to get the conservative line and then get the Republican line. So I always corrected people. I am running as a conservative. If you choose not to vote Republican, I understand. And more people, when they have conversations, when you can come with facts about issues and not make it a political party line, they see how authentic you are and they really are more open to that conversation. So New Yorkers, I don't think, like to put themselves in that little bucket of a party line. They like to be considered independent, and they do know that the cheat is in. They do know that the elections are rigged. I had a guy who works for New York City tell me, "Oh, it's rigged. Why bother? Why are you running? Why are you wasting your time?" And I said, "Because if I don't do it, who's going to do it? The Speaker of the Assembly is my district. And our district has been under a demise the last 10 years that he's the Speaker. So why not run? Why not go up against that?" So I feel like there is a lot of potential in New York City, and we do need to keep doing our grassroots work. The election integrity piece will come along. There will be strides from the national level that will push in and highlight what's been done in New York. So we have to have faith that that will come along, but we do have to have our communities coalesced and working at that grassroots level. And we honestly do need to start in the housing communities. These people have lost the most. They have zero opportunity. And think of the whole HB1 visa argument that was going on. Who is hurt the most? The people in housing communities that are told, "Oh, you're getting a check anyway, be satisfied with this lifestyle. It's okay, we're going to bring in people from every other country around the world for an opportunity that we should have been giving to you." So there's lots and lots of different issues. I'm always open to having conversations. I also admin the X Town Hall New York page. And tomorrow night we will be doing a space at 9 p.m. with Linda Rance from Cause of America, talking specifically about what Donald Trump said on Friday in the Oval Office. Hand counting, paper ballots, voter ID, one day voting. So it's very important that we can drive that fact here in New York, because the 10 days of early voting, we don't know what happens, not only the ballots, but the machines. We don't know what happens with that. And if we can bring the integrity back into elections, and we can get these grassroots efforts to ignite people to want to be involved and voting, then that's a win-win scenario for New York. And we can start that this year. And we need to remind the rest of the state, you don't win a governorship without winning the boroughs. So if you want to run for governor in 26, you have to be in New York City in 2025. And we are here, we're on the ground, we're doing the work. So you need to be able to come to us so that we can get you where you need to go to get your votes. I will yield, but I'll be on if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. I want to add to what you said. When people think that it's pointless, I always tell people, well, we can't prove that they're cheating if they win legitimately because nobody shows up. That's number one. And number two, even in the districts where, I said, if Jesus Christ runs as a Republican for mayor, he'd lose. There's some districts in New York where the Republicans get less than 20%, and even less than 15%. Like, it's a total blowout, and we know it's going to be a blowout, but somebody still runs. And those are the people who are more, admirable. I mean, some people go and think that there's some old, people are running for status or whatever the case may be. But those are the people that are, they don't get to raise a lot of money because people think that their election is pointless or whatever the case may be. But they're important because you're red pilling people by doing that. You're knocking on doors. You're going to lose, but you're going to change it, and you're going to get 5% more than the candidate got last year, or 3% more. So you got hundreds of people to wake up that you wouldn't have gotten if nobody ran in that for that seat. And when it comes to a citywide election or a statewide election, those people matter the most, because that's how you flip the state. If you have people who are running in districts that nobody is running in normally, you're picking up additional votes, because those are the people are more likely to show up for a local candidate that they met in person. They wouldn't have voted for the governor. Maybe they're a Republican and they think it's pointless. They'll go and show up for that local candidate that they met, and while they're there, they'll vote red down the line because they're a Republican, and they weren't going to vote because they thought it was pointless. But the local election is close, so now they show up and vote. So that's how you flip the state. That's how you flip the city, by getting people on the local level to work. And when I was going to run for U.S. Senate, if had the Republican Party not screwed me and told the counties that were going to endorse me not to endorse me, then I would have worked with every single assembly and state Senate and congressional candidate individually in their towns to help them flip their seats while helping myself at the same time. So I had low budget strategies. We would have flipped New York State had I been the candidate. I ran twice in districts that were unwinnable. It was 34% 4 years ago in 2016 for Trump. And then I got 54% on election night before it was stolen. And 21, the district was a 27% in 2017, and I got it to 49% despite them screwing me out of matching funds, despite everything. So even if people tell you that it's an unwinnable seat and they don't want to give you money, anything is possible if you put the work in. So with that being said, I don't know if we talked about the congestion pricing yet, or if there's any questions for anybody else, but I will ask Steph, what have you run for in the past, or what are you running for now, and what's the district, neighborhoods, etc.
So I ran in 2024 for New York State Assembly, District 83. So I was running against Carl Hastie, who is the Speaker of the Assembly. So this is the Northeast Bronx. This was traditionally, we border up to Mount Vernon. It's always been, no alternate side of the street parking situation. So like a beautiful sort of suburban part of the Bronx. It was really, really a nice area. In the last 10 years, you could just see the demise. We have an exorbitant number of shelters and a lot more NYCHA building coming into the district. So when I was campaigning last year, I thought, oh my goodness, Look at White Plains Road. Every store used to be vibrant and open and doing something. You have homeless. You have NYCHA buildings being built up there. You have hotels for migrants over there. And then you have so many stores. You go down 222nd Street. It's like a very busy subway stop. And there's stores upon stores that are closed, buildings that are shuttered. And I'm like, what's going on? And then you walk into the housing community and you have these men telling you, I need opportunity, I need jobs so that we can get out of here. And then you're thinking two plus two. Like, if we had the right investment of businesses and the right education for these kids, there would be no need to bring in HB1 visas because we've got these guys that are willing to work. They're smart. You can train them to do anything. They could start working. Then their wives can open businesses in these areas, dance schools, photography schools, whatever. We don't have any of that. So there's no opportunity for the people who have lived there their whole lives, and now their kids have no opportunity. And now you have, silently, people will tell you, how do you feel about charter schools? And I said, I absolutely love the idea of school choice. People should homeschool, charter school, whatever you want to do. If the education system is not providing what you want for your family, then you should have a choice. And they would quietly say, oh yeah, we like that, we like that. But they wouldn't, like, and especially for black people, they would look around to see who's paying attention to the fact that they're talking to the candidate, because people always let them know, oh, why were you talking to the candidate and all of this. And we have to pay attention, especially in the boroughs. We have a large Indian population that's growing, especially Queens. Bronx has it, and the Dominican neighborhoods, because they will vote conservative, and their values are conservative, their family values are conservative, and it is important that we fill in those areas so that they know they have a choice, so that they know that people are running on their behalf. If we don't, we're going to lose.
Are you
Uh,
running for a city race or anything, Steph, or we're taking a break
no.
on that? Okay.
No. I feel like I wanted to inspire other people to run in the district. Being Italian American, and now this neighborhood is predominantly, I would say, um, Caribbean, Black, and Hispanic, and Indian now. So I feel like I don't want to be like, not that race should really matter and nobody really cared, but at the end of the day, it's a job I don't know that I really want to do, but I'm happy to help a candidate do it. I'm happy because of what I've learned, and I feel like it's a recipe that will work in every district. When you have the small, like my assembly seat, I wanted to work with who was running for Senate. So that young lady didn't really campaign as much. She was busy with family. And then I wanted to work with the people who are running for the congressional races, but they didn't really have opportunities to do crossover. But I did do one event with Tina Forty outside of Edenwald Housing. We had a food truck event, and we also did voter registration drive. Can I tell you how successful this was? People were so inspired to see candidates actually in the area caring enough to bring voter registration forms, talk to people, and explain this to them. When I walked through the housing communities, there was not one poster in any building advising people, early voting, make sure you go out and vote. Not one. That's why we have no voter participation. These people had no clue that it was election season because nobody watches the news. Everybody's streaming something and it's not going to be the news because who cares? It's all rigged, it's all fixed. Why would we do that? So,
I want to pass it to John in a second. He's had his hand up for a while, but I do want to also point out, like, I went to Coney Island for most of my campaign. That's very heavy Democrat, and most Republican candidates before that, they would just go and preach to the choir. Like, they would go and contact every Republican in the district. It's like, okay, yeah, we've done that, and we lose because that's not enough. We have to red pill the Democrats by actually going into the areas that Republicans don't normally do. That's how we win. So that's where I focused most of my campaign, was outside of the supermarkets in Coney Island, handing out tote bags with my name on it, giving them the pen with my name on it after they signed for me on the petition. So, creative strategies and nonpartisan ideas, including lease to own options in the projects and things of that nature, or municipal bonds to fund affordable housing instead of giving tax credits to developers for only a certain small number affordable housing and life skills classes in schools to basically learn financial literacy, and as well as a lot of other introductory trade school topics. So a lot of different things that resonated with people that was nonpartisan, and I think that's why I did as well as I did for the first two local elections. But John, I know you had your hand up for a while. Thank you for being patient.
So I got a question for Stephanie, and one I'm going to push back on you, Mark. If Jesus Christ ran in New York City, he wins. If the effort was put in, because you debunked everything that you said when you just spoke about how well you did without the support.
That's
You
that's that's
you
local. That's local
you
elections, though.
completely debunked it. You
That's
completely
that's
debunked it.
that's local elections.
You completely
If
debunked it.
if
And
if I
and
ran as mayor and I had $10 million, I still wouldn't win, and I know what to do.
well, I'll tell you right now, if I had the GOP line and the conservative line and the media behind me, I'm winning. That I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
the media behind you is the problem. The media
And
will the media will call Jesus Christ racist if he's a Republican.
I'm talking about the right media, the Fox News, the Newsmax, and the supposed conservative media in New York City, which is
That
all white
wouldn't
guys
be
with
enough.
beards.
The New York Post and all that. The New York Post endorsed Curtis
100% it would
Sliwa.
be enough. You know, I'm so sick of this narrative, and this is why we lose elections because there was a guy, I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. His name was Rudy Giuliani. He was a Republican. He won twice in New York City, and that was in our lifetime, and that wasn't.
That's before. I'm sorry, John. That's before the severe TDS that spread like
Oh,
wildfire
okay.
in
I didn't
liberal
hear about it.
cities.
I didn't have. So here's my question for Stephanie. You running against Carl Hasty, the godfather of bail reform, right? Who else was running against you? Was there a Republican candidate in there? How much support did you get from the GOP? Did you even get a retweet from any of the big elected candidates? Did they do absolutely anything to help you win that election or to mentor you or to try to flip that seat? Or did they just say, you know what, we're not going to run anybody because you know what, Jesus Christ wouldn't win there? Could you just answer that stuff? I'm just curious.
So I did get on the conservative line, and then the county chair reached over to the Bronx county chair, and Mike, to his credit, did have a conversation with me. And another one of my clients actually knew him, so he made a phone call. He's like, "Oh, I heard this girl is running. I absolutely endorse that she would be a great candidate." So he had a conversation with me, and he said, "Okay, we only had someone papered, so we're going to let you run on the Republican line. We just have to hold our meeting this week, and you will also be on the Republican line." I said, "Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that." But and then I met with him after Labor Day. So all summer I was doing what I had to do, getting out. I did my own flyers, printed them up on my own, did a couple of fundraisers, very small scale, and then I just was hitting the ground myself. Friends of mine would come out with me once in a while. And then after Labor Day, he's like, "All right, let's meet." And then, he did a nice donation for me for my campaign. He said, "But the party isn't really going to put any effort into it, everything, because everything's focused on the presidential race. So there's really nothing else."
So
And I said,
basically, we're going to run you to lose, and thank you. You
"Well,
can sit
right.
down
Well,
now.
no, yeah." He said, "You're not going to win." He's not.
Exactly.
They
And
didn't
that's
think
what
there
they
was
tell
any
everyone.
candidate in New York that would win, but
And
except
that's
for
what they
me.
tell everyone. And they're telling
Yeah,
everyone now Curtis Sliwa can't win. So why the fuck is he the candidate?
exactly. Exactly.
Because somebody has to run. And going back to my other point, the people that do run in the districts that you can't win, you go and you take 2% this year and you take 2% next year. I'm not saying it'll never happen. It's just not there. The numbers aren't there. And the Republicans leave New York regularly in droves. If they didn't, then maybe I think we did win the state with Lee Zeldin, but that's another story. I
Yeah.
don't want to go too much on a tangent. But here's the headlines for Jesus Christ. Okay, number one, there's the headline of him flipping tables in the temple. Do you really want this to be your leader? He's over here flipping temples. He can't control his anger issues. And people were hungry, so he made a whole bunch of fish. What about the vegans? How come he didn't have vegan options and he just had fish for people? So yes, the media will go and attack even Jesus Christ.
And he's
And
a
with that,
homophobe. And they're gonna say he's a homophobe.
yep, Yep, exactly.
I
Cafecito.
I will say, Mark, there was another lady that was considering running for mayor, and she was told there was no interest. I'm not going to say any names, but I'm just going to say that there was someone, and I believe a very viable candidate, brilliant person, very accomplished. I think John knows her as well, but she was told there was no interest.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of people who wanted to run and didn't get the endorsement and couldn't get on the ballot with the signature requirement. Even with the endorsement, you still need to get the signatures. There was the owner, I forgot his name, but he was the owner of Pasha nightclub and stuff, and he had some restaurants, and he was a businessman and whatever, and he spoke at the New York Young Republican Club. There was, the Esposito. She was the Lee Zeldin's running mate. She wanted to run for mayor, and 4 years ago, but she didn't get the endorsement from the party. So then Curtis Lee did. Curtis Lee was the more household name, and he ended up getting the endorsement, and no one else could meet the signature requirement aside from that. So, but I know Cafecito had her hand up before, so I'll pass it back over to her.
I have a question. With all of the resurgence and the work that has been done in the recent years, specifically, let's focus on New York with, you know, the understanding that, they'll run candidates on the other side too, but there's new groups like folks here, and we know some of them that are creating little clubs. Like, could that eventually be a strong enough point where we're supporting candidates collectively from that like space? I mean, because eventually the noise will get pretty big. I mean, the level of dissatisfaction from the residents and people who live in New York is higher than I recall in any recent memory. So I'm just asking if what anybody would thinks about that. Cozy.
Yeah, great point. Listen, 45% of New Yorkers voted for Donald Trump. That's a huge sign. Okay. That's a good signal. But yes, there's so much involved. John and Mark, both great points. And I think that we need to come together, and I think that we need to start. I mean, we are doing it. We are doing it. You're seeing it right now. You're witnessing it right now on this X space. You're witnessing it on our day to day. We're seeing more and more people that are tired of what went. Like the left went way too left, right? They went way too left, extreme. Where the transgender stuff. I really think that's what killed their whole platform, pushing the transgender and the LGBT agenda and the migrant situation and like all the things, the mandates, and you go down the list of all these extreme things that they would want to do, and now people are fed up. Now we need to find people that we trust. That's the thing. Trust is key. When John was talking about certain people up top that are billionaires and they're controlling the media, they're controlling the associations, and they're controlling who runs and who doesn't run and who's prevented from running. That's a problem. So how do we defeat that? The way we defeat that, it's the only way I can see, right? Because we have to go from the bottom up. And once the people start uniting and trust each other and build community, it's going to take some time. But like I think as they trust us and we keep you know, moving in a noble way, I think we're going to grow that movement as we're doing now, and eventually we'll be able to freaking defeat those blockages. Because at the end of the day, it's about who goes to vote, and obviously the voting system. If we could fix that, for Christ's sake, if we could fix the cheating, that's a huge one too. But if let's say it was a perfect voting system, okay, then we would just have to make sure we spread the message via social media and via actual Republican clubs, creating our own. And let's not even call it Republican clubs. Let's just call it our clubs, the people's clubs. And you start bringing people there, and it's going to take a lot of effort and time and energy, creating the culture, which DVS is trying to do right now. Shout out to DVS. He's doing his monthly things. And I think culture is big, right? We need the music, we need the entertainment, we need the comedians, we need We need great speakers. We need people to motivate and inspire people. Okay. And that's what how movements grow. And I think once we have an organic grassroots, true grassroots movement, we can defeat these tyrants.
I do want to. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I do want to point out that 45% for Trump was New York State, not New York City.
Correct.
Um, so New York City is just a completely different animal. I think we can win the governor race and get rid of Hochul, especially since the congestion pricing thing, obviously isn't in her favor for both sides of the party line. There are some people that believe whatever the Democrats say, no matter what. Cozy, go ahead.
Yeah, like all right, so if you're talking about New York City, man, we're in deep trouble. I mean, we have a lot of like large amount of people who how do I say this without sounding like a DIC to the K? Um I won't say it. How
Say it
about that?
however you want to say it.
Listen,
Just keep it real, because the people in New York City. That's what I try to
the
explain to
men,
people.
the men are feminized, okay? They are
Yep.
feminized. They have no balls. That mentality, the indoctrination is so strong and so disgusting that I don't know. They're going to just keep voting the way they're voting. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer either. And New York City is, I don't know. It hurts me. It hurts me. But I think that the Scott LeBedos out there and the John Macaris and, these people, you know, Mark, all these people on here, you guys give me some hope. And we need to kind of spread that message of, hey, man, grow some balls. Hey, man, where's your testosterone? Where are your values? You know what I mean?
But
Where are your values?
but
How are you
many
going
of these,
to, yeah, yeah,
I'm going to tell you, many of these young men are growing up without a father figure, without a male mentor. So let's start getting into these communities where young men do not have a father figure, and let's give them a father figure. Let's give them someone to teach them how to use tools, how to work with their hands. That's what they're missing because they
correct.
don't get that at school at all.
Yeah, no, no, good point. And I want to end my message in a better way because I was, stressed out saying that, but at the same time it's like teaching people what is important in life. How important family is. How important, respecting, you know, people and like how to just be a good person, right? And all these things that are pretty much interfering with that. Like the messages coming from the movies and the music and all this stuff. I mean, I see what my kids listen to, and I'm horrified. Right, the stuff that you can't control. Right, the influences and how they're being brainwashed into not knowing what gender is, and you know what I mean, morality and like all of that stuff, man. What we have to go back to the basics, and I think once we go back to the basics of what it is to be a good human being and how to create a good family, I think that people will naturally make the right decisions and want to select a better candidate. Because right now, we have a freak show. We have a freak show going on and it's out of control. And we are the ones who are been given the light. Okay? Everybody listening right here, I know you have the light in you. That's why you're here. And we have to take that light and spread it one person at a time and teach people what it is to create life, what it is to create positive things. I always say this, it's about creation versus destruction. These people are about destruction. That's why they're doing destructive behaviors. They're endorsing destructive behaviors. We are here creating and thinking of ways to improve life and humanity. All right. And once we teach that by example, that's how we make this change.
Cafecito, you had your hand up, or
Yeah, I just have a question. Do you guys want congestion pricing?
I was gonna segue. I was gonna segue that after I talked about Hochul, but I don't know all the people had their hand up. Obviously not. I mean, I had my whole movie script idea of shutting down the bridges
No,
and
no,
stuff
no,
like
no.
that. I'm not
Oh, wait.
getting into it. I'm not
No,
getting.
no,
I
I
was
know.
literally done
I
right
know. I'm
there.
playing
Like,
with you. I'm
yeah,
playing
no,
with
I
you.
know. But
But Mark, before you go on,
thankfully, Trump.
before
Go
you go
ahead.
on, I want to make sure Steph. I want her to finish her statement because I kind of cut her off because I was explaining myself. But I want her to be able to finish her thought if she still needed to throw out her thought, and then I want you to continue, Mark. But
Got you.
Steph, do you want to finish your thought? Because I really would like to hear it.
Oh no, I think I got it all out. I'm good. Thanks.
Awesome. Cool, cool. All right, Mark, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I tend to interrupt people occasionally as well, so it's all good. But yeah, congestion pricing. I said, oh, it's so great the peasants can't afford to go into New York. That's what these people think. Like, that they want things more convenient for the rich people, and the average person no longer has the ability to. It's expensive enough to own a car, and they want these smart cities, these 15-minute cities. They don't want people to own cars. They want people to basically not have that freedom. Like, younger people are not getting their driver's license. They're relying on Uber and things of that nature. I saw this other post that shows that the cars are getting uglier and uglier now. These electric vehicles and stuff, there's no style to them. They don't want any excitement behind cars anymore. They don't want people to be excited about owning a car. They just want to see it as something that's just a necessary transportation. Like, you get in a self-driving Uber and you go where you need to go. So um, it's all destruction by design. It's all a communist agenda, and the congestion pricing. Thankfully, Trump is shutting that down. Hochul's trying to fight back. She's not going to win when it comes to the federal funding, and everyone who got billed for a toll should get reimbursed. I haven't paid mine. I have no intention on paying it. They mailed it by the plate, and they could go f themselves. And yeah, that's everyone who got one should not have to pay it or get refunded. But Cafecito.
So you know that uh, initially we had invited the Brooklyn board president, who is a friend of Cafecito Break for probably as long as Cafecito Break has been born. But I believe he's a democratic socialist to date. He made a statement: New York City is not Donald Trump's fiefdom. In one short month, congestion pricing has delivered clear and measurable benefits for residents and visitors alike. Traffic is down, subway ridership is up, and businesses are seeing higher foot traffic. In the courts and in the streets, we will continue fighting and winning for congestion pricing and for the well-being of New Yorkers. We got us. So I want to remember who saw the comments first, but some of us are now going into people's comment section like this one, and we start sharing our insights in the most helpful way. And I went onto his page, and even some of his own folks that support him were like, please sit this one out. Cozy chimed in, no, Antonio, congestion pricing robs New Yorkers, period. It is unacceptable and we will fight to the end. And I said, we don't want congestion pricing. Thank you, Trump. um, Someone wrote that they don't want congestion pricing. Another person added, please don't make a side with the other guy. Sit this one out. It's okay. Someone else responded, thank you for fighting for congestion pricing. It's already reduced traffic in New York City and made our streets more viable for New York City residents. We love it. Another person, I am against it. Another person says, let's see what it actually fixes before you come with this empty but go off. And then another person said, we poor Latinos from Williamsburg can afford that. And another, we can afford it. So why am I taking time to read this comments? To illustrate to you, which is something that Steph was mentioning here. And I appreciate when that she reminded us that we don't need to politicize this. We could come at people from the spirit of the commonality, right? And I think most of us in this space, we already know that, and we're learning how to be more effective as we communicate with other people. And one of the ways, I think this is one of the reasons my sister and I have been motivated to do our lives from a restaurant, supporting small businesses, while at the same time being in a setting that is not that is more inviting to be around. Now, this is what my response was to our friend of Cafecito Break. dear Brooklyn Borough President, any chance you can join us this evening? Um, we welcome the opportunity to talk to you. We may be on different side of politics, but we have a lot in common. We love Brooklyn. We love community. We want the best for the people. We love New York, and we do not approve of Mayor Adams, even though I'm pretty sure we may have other candidates as our dream candidates. Um, but all that to say that just to share with you just that there are people who are convinced when I think about when I contemplate the Brooklyn Board president for just the facts that I know that he uses his bike a lot from what I know and understand. I do not believe he is an owner of a small business. I could be wrong. Um, and then the other thing is, so when he's making these comments about that this is helping small businesses. I'm not sure, maybe there is somewhere where this is helping businesses, but a lot of people, were reporting that they were losing businesses because in places where they had a lot of foot traffic and maybe in around like the high traffic parts, they were making a lot of money, like the street vendors. So it's like a lot of people get lost in the sauce when things and decisions get made like that. And we also have to contemplate the lifestyle, I believe now, of the people. Like I know he's a family man, but if you know like for those of us who've owned the business like my sister and I did, and we had to close after 9 years, well, this hits a sore spot because the bike lanes, for example, definitely reduce traffic to the businesses because people feel discouraged trying to cross the street, and a lot of people get hit by trying to cross the street and breaking their neck because every other step they have to watch for a bike, then they have to watch for a car, then they have to watch for moving traffic, then they have to watch for parking again, and then the bike lane. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is what we're creating, like this insanity in New York City. And a lot of the Democrats, they are so, they don't realize that they've become so elitist and they do not invite conversation. Now, the director of communication for the Brooklyn Borough president did respond to me. Will this conversation go somewhere? No, but to me, it's just to document that we're trying, that we're making efforts, and we have to start somewhere. We just have to continue to reach and try to communicate. At least that's how I feel. Cozy.
Okay, there's so many things I want to hit upon. Okay, the first thing is fake science. Okay, the fact that you think, and fake logistics, right? The fact that you think that you're going to stop congestion by, increasing the price to not allow people to come through. Guess what's going to happen? There's going to be congestion somewhere else. You don't eliminate that. That's not how you solve things. Okay. Second, Antonio Reynoso, he believes that, it's great because there's less traffic and it's cleaner. The problem with Antonio is he does not understand the plan. Once you understand what the plan is, you won't be for it. The plan is a new world order takeover. And if you think that's a conspiracy theory, guess what? World Economic Forum, okay? 15-minute cities. This is what it's about. They don't want you traveling. They want you to stick in your 15-minute community, and they hate you. They don't want you to travel because they want to control you. They want to control people. This is why all these things are coming out, more surveillance. That's the plan. And when people realize what the plan is, they won't be for this stuff. Okay. Now, less traffic. You think that's nice? You think that's freaking beautiful and cute? This is disgusting. Okay, you're not going to control us. You're not going to tell us you're going to charge us $9, $27 to whatever you want to charge to get in. We're not going to do that. Shout out to Scott Lebedo. A shout out to everybody who's covering their license plates. I don't drive, but if I was driving, guess what? I would stick a middle finger on my license plate with a cover. Okay, I would never ever pay $9. Okay, never. Never in a million years will I give money to a tyrant like that to tell me I can't go. So thank you, Donald Trump, for doing a great job in smacking that bleep down. Kathy Hochul, you brittle bone bitch. Listen, Granny, sit down, retire. You're too old. You're pathetic. You have no backbone. You're not going to win. And she's like, and we will fight because New Yorkers never back down. Who's behind you? Who the hell is behind you? I don't know one freaking New Yorker except for Antonio Reynoso and a few other, let me just not, whew, I have to hold back. A few other pipsqueaks, I'll say, that I've seen make silly little comments. Uh, pathetic men saying these things. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's even people with TDS that don't agree with congestion pricing because that really comes down to dollars at this point. I mean, you have people. It's not just New Yorkers. People from New Jersey who commute into New York every day. They're paying the toll. They're paying for gases. They're paying for parking. They're paying for their car payment, insurance, and $9 a day, 5 days a week. Times four is $180 a month, and then you have more than 4 weeks, so you're talking about an extra $200 a month on top of what you were paying. And what you were saying, Cozy, is a lot of people, they're gonna take their car and they're gonna try to park it in certain parts in North Brooklyn, which is just gonna add congestion there. And aside from the people that are commuting to work, there's also the times where you just want to go out to the city to go see a game or something. You're paying for parking as it is, and then now you're adding the congestion pricing. I think it's going to deter people from coming to the city. So there's people who, like a lot of us who go to the city regularly are going by train anyway. You're screwing over the people that have a car and wanted that, the comfort of coming in. I mean, if when I went to go see a Knicks or a Rangers game or event at the Garden, I know there's no parking in the city around that area until 7, so I would go there at 6:30, and then I'd get a free parking spot and go to the game. Now I won't do something like that because, well, number one, I'm barely in New York nowadays anyway, but number two, you're adding the extra $9 on principle alone. That would just piss me off to the point where I'm just not going to want to go to the city. But I'll pass it back to you, Cozy.
Yeah, you just reminded me as you were speaking that Rose Angel could attest to. In my neighborhood in Williamsburg, they have closed down a street called Berry Street. Okay, they think they did this during the pandemic, so they're like, oh, we're gonna stop it. It's gonna help less congestion, and it's gonna be better for the community. You morons! Same thing. False science, fake logic. Listen, if you shut down a whole freaking, it's not just one block, it's literally like a whole avenue. Let's say it's called street, but it's like think about like I guess 10 blocks, 10 or 12 blocks shut down. Guess what? The people who can't park there, they're gonna park on the next street, so you're gonna get congestion, you morons. Like, what? The Democrats are the stupidest freaking people ever known. They don't know science, they don't know math, they don't know logic, right? Everything they do, they can't calculate things. That's why their economics are freaking off. Everything, they just overspend and all that shit. Listen, think about that. Imagine the humor in, like, oh yeah, we're not gonna park in these 12 blocks and it's gonna be beautiful. What's gonna happen? Now you can't find parking anywhere else. Now people are pissed off in my neighborhood. You see like double parked cars. It's a fucking disaster. Okay,
Yeah,
they're
it's
fucking
that they
clowns.
know. They know exactly what they're doing, Cozy, and as I said, it's destruction by design. It's disguised as incompetence, but they know exactly what they're doing. They did the same thing with the Lower East Side. All of Avenue C, no parking, and all of this area, no parking. And now what used to be free parking is now metered parking. So they did it all over the place. And yes, people are driving around looking for parking, which is causing congestion too. So yeah, you close off that street and for parking, and then next thing you know, you're causing more congestion all around. They know what they're doing. They don't want people to own cars. That's their goals. Cafecito.
Mm, a couple of things just to illustrate Cozy's point on Berry Street, in which they closed it during 2020. Because the pretext was, since we're needing to social distance, that way people could have more space. Because there was so much people traffic those days. Um, and then Berry Street is really residential, so it made no sense. But I noticed that throughout the years since they started to do that, is there will be like little additions to the street closure, right? And which may or may not have been either fully permitted or they were just doing it. All of a sudden, they would start painting the white lines for to make less space for people to walk. Then the next thing you know, there's they put those big tall pots and kind of boulders, and now those things start taking out the edges of like each block, so less parking. Then they will start putting out little signs like reimagining the space, like they do on Bedford Avenue, when they want us to reimagine what it would be like if there was astroturf, or maybe real green grass right on Bedford Avenue, and imagine all the people laughing and playing together, and all the dogs and the babies and the strollers pushing. So I had gone to what I thought was the meeting against um the closure, but I actually went to the meeting for the to keep this thing closed. And yeah, I'm just really happy that it was a recorded, because I might have gone viral on YouTube for the head to toe tantrum that I had when I was trying to explain to some of the youngsters there that they when we talk about the epitome of white privilege, that they were exhibiting all of those facets. I'm like, so you mean to tell me you in your mind think that it's better to force a working class neighborhood that needs their cars, that they need their 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 cars because they use them for work, so you want to have them there to be less parking space, so then that means that they're wasting more time in the morning and in the daytime looking for parking spaces. And I know this because I've had to move several cars before, and sometimes it would take me 1 to 2 hours in the morning or at night just to try to find parking. So there is a direct result. Can you imagine? Can you multiply those hours, not just for me, but for anybody who's just working long ass days and they really do need their car? But this mindset from all the ones that I was getting an earful that evening, they celebrated the fact that there should be more bike lanes. They celebrate the fact that this is for healthier New York. Don't you want people to just be going and just moving and just being more free? And don't you want to just see less cars in the streets so we could breathe better? And don't you just want to see puppies and cotton candy? And I'm like, oh my God. So I just wanted to contribute that, because I if I didn't believe in the 2030 agenda, whatever it gets pushed back to, the signs are all there.
Yeah, they all live in a fairy tale land on how they think things are going to turn out when they do certain stupid things. Yeah, but I wanted to talk about those bike lanes because they closed down one lane in the Brooklyn Bridge, which was idiotic because you already had a path for bikes to travel on that, and you closed down a lane on the BQE for no reason whatsoever. Make it a emergency pullover lane only. There's a lot of stupid things they do, but it all goes to discouraging people from owning cars. That Cozy mentioned that, I mentioned that 15-minute cities. That's the goal. That's what they want to do, and most people. Doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, they're against it. I just want to remind everyone we air every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Cafecito, and Cozy are the regular hosts. John is a regular contributor. We have a lot of other regular contributors on the show. Make sure you could click on our photos and give us a follow. Just set a reminder for 9 p.m. every Monday, and we hope that we see you guys regularly. Another regular on the show who just joined us. I was actually going to send you an invite to speak, and then you requested one, Marlon. But welcome back, Marlon, former NYPD detective.
Hi, good evening, guys. Um, Hello, Cozy, Mark, Rose. So I just wanted to say a quick follow up to what Cozy and Mark were saying that but that basically that arrogance and hubris that a lot of these elites have, especially in Manhattan, is a byproduct of it's a byproduct of like at least 50 years of 50 years of what's been going on with the economy, right? So Tucker Carlson just had an interview earlier today with a guy named Luke Gromen, who's like a big economist guy, right? And I encourage everybody to go and listen to that episode. It's fantastic, and a lot of the things that I've talked about in the past, they bring up too. Not coincidental, because a lot of I, I what I've been saying is a lot of it comes from Luke Gromen and other economists. So basically, what Luke Gromen is saying is that basically Trump is shifting us back to a time when things weren't as wacky as they are now. And the reason why things are wacky now is in a lot of ways because of what happened in the 1970s when Nixon took us off gold, right? So the US dollar used to be backed by gold. And when he took us off of that, what happened is the system became the monetary system became one based off of debt and credit, right? And because of that, you see America became a superpower because we have the exceptional ability to sell the world our debt as treasuries, and the world takes that debt and they use it as a savings instrument. Now, unfortunately, as a byproduct of that, right, Wall Street realized that they can leverage debt now. So Wall Street created a whole bunch of a whole bunch of wacky securities and derivatives that made them fantastically wealthy, right? But it also concentrated that wealth to a select few at the top, right? There's something called the Cantillon effect in economics, which means the closer you are to the seats of power and banking, is the you get first dibs on the information and the money. Okay, which is basically means if you have a office next door to the CEO of a company, you're going to get first dibs on that information. You know, as the information seeps out his office, you're right next door. So that's how it works with power and money. And this is why you got these elites in Manhattan who all are kind of detached from reality. It's because from the last 50 years, all that wealth has concentrated at the top. And it's caused them to live in their own reality. And you're seeing the byproducts of that in like the bike lanes, the congestion pricing, all these nonsense ideas. And in a lot of ways, what the World Economic Forum is an extension of that, because you see this concentration of wealth, it extends beyond just Wall Street. It's seeped out to the elites, and they're totally detached, and what they want with these 15-minute cities and all these Klaus Schwab crazy ideas are the results of that, because they live in their own world. But you see now, watching that Tucker Carlson interview, Luke Gromen says on that, he says that what happens is America realized that we because of that we farmed out production to the rest of the world and to China where it was cheaper. So now that's a problem, because we can't even build bombs anymore because the chips are made in China. So the problem now is that we need to bring all that production back to America. And by bringing all that production back to America, we have to go back to the gold standard, because leaving the gold standard caused us to offshore our dollars, our production to the rest of the world, so then the rest of the world could use our dollars. And then the chief product of America became our dollars, right? So what you're seeing with the arrogance and hubris of Manhattan elites is what's called Dutch disease, right? It's things have been so good for so long, right? That it's like it's like giving them a mind virus, right? And but the good news is, like I said, Trump is changing things, and they have to change things, because again, the Pentagon realized that America's world hegemony is threatened by the fact that we don't make stuff anymore. So every now and then in history, we get lucky in that our interests align with the interests of of certainly parts of government. In this case, the military, right? And this is why things are going back, and things are going to be better in the future than they are now. So I just wanted to mention that quickly. And again, everyone should go listen to that interview because that interview is fantastic. And when you watch the interview, think of how it relates to the city. Because remember, New York City is an international city, it's a financial city. So we're at the forefront of this. And we're going to see those effects as we go through it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for that, Marlon. Yeah, I mean, Russia and China were both looking to no longer accept U.S. currency debt. So they were working together to try to get rid of the U.S. currency being the natural, the universal currency for trade. So they were looking to get rid of that. Trump taking office with tariffs and things of that nature also changes things as far as local U.S. production. Biden obviously didn't have the balls to do anything. And like you said, Marlon, not just military, but also, for that reason too, we were about to no longer be the accepted by certain countries. Maybe that's probably why Trump was allowed to win this time, because it got so bad that the bankers were even going to start losing money. But yeah, so it's thankfully Trump is in office and he's doing a lot of good things right off the bat, and in just over a month. I know there's some people that still hate Trump for the vaccine Operation Warp Speed. I'm not going to get into that on this episode. I've talked about it on numerous occasions, but he's nixing the congestion pricing. He's securing the border. He's got, even though I don't trust Elon Musk, as I said, Mr. Black Hat himself, Mr. Brain Chip and everything. He's over there in the Department of Government Efficiency. And, con artists don't come at you and let you and show their teeth. Like they go and they help you out and they make you gain their trust before they screw you over. So that's how I feel about Elon Musk. Personally, but Cash Patel in there in the FBI. There's a lot of things that I'm excited about. Obviously, RFK Jr. It's most cabinet members throughout history are approved, and thankfully we had that with RFK and Trump's top picks for different cabinet members, and a lot of good things happening. And I'm basically I'm even though I was Debbie Downer when it comes to New York City politics and us winning the mayor race as a Republican, I am very uh, bullish on the way the path that our country is taking right now. So I'm excited about that, and I think we're going to continue to flip seats because people are waking up. TDS is severe, but even people with TDS, we've seen people with TDS get cured before, and that's Trump derangement syndrome. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, in New York, it's very difficult to do, but we do it one at a time. We're not gonna flip. There's 1 in 8. Well, for every one Republican in New York City, I believe there's 8 Democrats. So that's a very hard thing to overcome. But we could flip the governor race. I'm pretty confident in that there's a reasonable possibility for that in 2026. We could flip possibly city council seats in certain areas, so we could make progress. We might, where it's not going to be a drastic overhaul. Where we have a New York City mayor that's a Republican, but things are constantly getting worse, and as things get bad, that's how Giuliani ended up winning. He had the Republican line, but he also had another party line as well, and he barely won. But things were getting so bad that people said enough is enough. We might as well try something different. And it was a different atmosphere where they didn't believe Republicans were racist back then. Um, you know, uh, Mayor LaGuardia has a famous quote: "There's no Republican or Democratic way to take out the garbage." And so, there's certain people that will realize that you need somebody to run the city, and national politics like abortion and things of that nature don't necessarily matter when it comes to New York City mayor. A lot of that is just running the city and not being incompetent like our current leaders are. And Eric Adams was a former police officer. Yes, identity politics took place in there, but you had other black candidates as well. And they went with him, I think, because crime was a major issue. And the fact that he was former NYPD, people took that into effect. So they should have voted for a Republican if they really wanted crime to go down, but they ended up going with the Democrat that was a police officer. So hopefully things don't have to get too much worse before it gets better. But with that being said, I think it's about time to start wrapping things up with final thoughts. Someone else was requesting to speak. Danny, apologize we couldn't get to you on this show, but tune in next week if anything, or leave a question in the comments there. But I'm going to pass it on to Cafecito. If there's any other topics that you want to add and go into overtime, I'm okay with that. Or if you just want to wrap things up with final thoughts.
Yeah, let's wrap things up with final thoughts. I want to add that the MTA apparently collected 49 million from congestion pricing, and data shows commuters were hit hardest. So I just wanted to add that to the beautiful conversation that we've had today. And thank you everyone who's tuned in. If you please take a moment to, you know, share this space, repost it, invite a friend, tell a friend. It's amazing to have your presence here to this evening. And we're here every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And sometimes it's roundtable style like this. Or and other times we have like a special spotlight guest in which we're, it's more like an interview style, and at the end we bring people up for questions. But yeah, we're here every Monday, God willing. And yeah, so I'll pass it on back to we'll start with Marlon for final thoughts.
Thank you. I don't have much final thoughts. Just go watch that interview, everybody. And also, there's a book I'm going to recommend to you. It's called The Fourth Turning. I know, at the risk of sounding like a broken record again, that book is mentioned in that interview as well. Okay, and Luke specifically notes that about the generational shift and why that plays a part in what's going on as well. So that's it. Thanks again, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Marlon. And we appreciate having you on this space. And we love that you are a frequent contributor, always bringing in something that leaves us thinking and munching on some data. So I appreciate that. John?
Yeah, no, I just want to say congestion pricing was such a great thing. New Yorkers loved it so much that Kathy Hochul took it away to so that it wouldn't hurt the Democrats too bad in the national election. And then immediately after the election was won, she reinstated it, and she's calling Trump a king. We have no place for a king, but she did some. She's doing the same exact thing. She's pushing down a tax, an unwanted tax. It's really unpopular amongst all voters. And again, I truly believe. I think when we look at New York City, it's a tale of apathy. It's a tale of low information and voter apathy. And I really think that I think spaces like this do a great job, and you guys and platforms like yours, they do a great job of breaking that low information and creating informed voters. I do think that I don't think that I have so many friends that are Democrats and liberals that have they have swayed often in elections, so I don't think it's an impossible thing to find common sense candidates to have strong platforms. And I think we just need to continue to push for that. Is like push for some common sense, push for some newer faces, stop just playing in this cycle. And and that's it. Always happy to be here. Always happy to join. I'm glad I was able to make it this week. I know I missed the last few weeks, but But always great conversations. I appreciate everybody on here, and that's it. I'll look forward to the next one.
Plug your show.
Oh, sure. And if you guys want to listen to the insanity that's New York City and the NYPD, we like to call it the greatest show on earth. Go over to at the finest unfiltered on YouTube. Marlin's a member. Like we're always putting out shows. I think last show we did, we tied in the corruption in the real estate. Myself and Eric put out a show this morning where we really broke down the extortion racket that's being alleged, that's coming out of the NYPD and from the top tier officials in City Hall. And when we just broke down a timeline of all the things that are happening, a lot of stuff we talk about, unfortunately, it's real. We allow people to come on the platform and speak, and you're able to interact, ask questions. So it's pretty interesting. And when you look at the show we did today, it's really a sad state of affairs. So, so yeah, appreciate it, guys.
John, I do have one
Oh,
question for you before you go. Why is it that Jesus Christ, all of his apostles were white? He didn't have any gay members of apostles. He didn't have any females. He didn't have any apostles of color. Jesus Christ is clearly a racist, according to the fake news media, John.
Well,
And he is
I
unfit to be mayor.
Well, I know that is 100% how the lefties would paint them out, but definitely, the chances of Jesus Christ and his apostles being white skinned is very minimal.
That's another story for what race Jesus Christ actually was in that geographical area, but you get my point. For those of you joining late, I said if Jesus Christ ran as a Republican, the media would call him racist and attack him, and I made the joke before he made extra fishes. He didn't have a vegan option. But yeah, final thoughts for Cozy, I guess, and then I'll do mine and then pass it to Cafecito to close out.
Yes, thank you all for jumping in today. It was a pleasure listening to different perspectives. So yeah, thank you. Come join us on the Norm every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I put a lot of links today. So once this show is done, go to the comment section and you're going to see all the different links. Listen, this Thursday, 7 to 11 p.m., DVS and the New York Republican Club is having an amazing Dominican Independence Day in Washington Heights. Come have some drinks, come have some amazing food. I went there last month and the food is amazing. The entertainment was amazing. Again, Sally Batista is going to have her killer band. People are going to be dancing and singing, and it's going to be great. Come check us out. I'm gonna go support. And then this Wednesday, also put a link for Teachers for Choice and Autism Action Network is having a Zoom open to the public. Check out that link. We're gonna be talking about religious exemptions and how we're gonna get those back, or at least try to get those back. And yeah, just go look at all the links. I put a whole bunch of links. Go tip Cafecito Break, put a link there. And yeah, that's all for me. Go buy my soaps, Cozy's Pure Soaps. Put a link there as well. Peace out, everybody. Love you guys.
Wash your ass with class with Cozy's soaps, Cozy's Pure Soaps. I know that's not the official saying. That's not the
That
official
sounds too
slogan.
rough, Mark. I need something more gentle and soothing, and I want to leave them with a thought of luxury, not ass. The word ass doesn't sound good. It sounds dirty,
I mean,
Mark.
there's the word class with it, and it rhymes.
Think of poetry. Think of lather. Not a
I'm
hairy ass, Mark. No.
why has it got to be hairy? I said
I
their
don't know,
ass,
because
not
it
my
sounded
ass.
the way you said it sounded like a hairy, dirty, sweaty ass, and that's just not the image for Cozy's Pure Soaps.
I'm gonna design the wash your ass with
Gentle,
class logo
I
now.
gentle.
can't.
Listen, it's gentle lather. Lather yourself with Cozy's Pure Soap. That's how we're gonna end it there.
Yeah, I've bought them before years ago. It's like the scent of them are kind of it's like you got an air freshener for the bathroom and a soap at the same time. Very good quality stuff. Seriously, is legit. Make sure you
Pamper your
go and
skin. Pamper your skin with Cozy's Pure Soaps.
boom. handmade from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, by a soap expert, a soap connoisseur. Anyway, I'm gonna close things off by saying, even though I was Debbie Downer and said, Jesus Christ can't win as a Republican, even if we get 40% or something close to it, yeah, they're probably gonna try to steal it, and et cetera. They're gonna cheat with the matching funds and all the shenanigans that they do, but if you're outmatched, if in a sports game, and you're playing the number one seed who's undefeated, and you don't have a win, are you going to not show up to the game and not play? I mean, you go and you play the game, you go and you do what you got to do to try your best to win. And I said it's not going to happen overnight, but if we pick up 5% more than we did before, 10% more than we did before, then maybe 4 years from now we have a Republican mayor, and we make strides towards the governor race next year by red pilling people in the city, because we need to red pill people in the city in order to win the state. So it's an important election. We probably won't win the mayor race, but we could probably flip some city council seats, and we could probably red pill thousands of people, or maybe even over 100,000 people, and that will help decide the fate of the governor race and get rid of Kathy Hochul next year. So um yeah, we just got to put in the effort. I sound negative, but I'm very positive that more and more people are waking up. They want safer streets. They don't want congestion pricing. They want they're seeing what Trump is doing, and he's red pilling people by keeping the promises that he's made as far as the border and safer streets and things of that nature. So I think more and more people are going to wake up. Unfortunately, there are people with severe TDS, and they're all over Manhattan and North Brooklyn and most of the Bronx, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's it still makes a difference to run for office, even in unwinnable seats. We need to red pill as many people as possible, take it little by little, and we'll take New York back eventually. So with that being said, thank you for joining us. Make sure you share the space, repost it so people could listen in, and thank you for joining us again this week, and we hope to see you guys again next week. And I'll pass it back over to Cafecito to close us out, the hostess with the mostest.
Thank you. It has been the most amazing X space. Well, I feel like I say that every Monday, but
We keep
I really
outdoing
enjoy
ourselves.
these spaces. Huh?
Because we keep outdoing ourselves, and it just gets better and
We
better
really
every week.
do. We really do. I mean, I love these spaces. I will say that the commonality is that each time I just always feel re-energized. And last week, the three of us, we could barely speak much because we were all like still on the sick side, and we're like, not gonna do a long space. We're gonna get off at 10:30. Cut to it's like almost 11:30. So I really do appreciate your time. Uh, my reminder comment is that I just posted. Graham Morello's happy hour with the Perez sisters. Appreciate everyone who's been showing up. Robert from the Bronx made a specific sign, happy hour at Gran Morelos, and he brought it. He wasn't sure if it was for us or for the restaurant owner, and the restaurant owner really loved it. And when we showed up last week, it was the sign is sitting in the window of his restaurant. So to share that is, imagine Robert lives all the way in the Bronx, and here he comes with a sign of appreciation, and the owner loved it so much, lit up, and he's really embracive. Imagine like where that restaurant is positioned is not too far away from like some of the folks that move in certain political circles together. And when we interviewed him, he made a point to tell us that he's like, all your friends, everybody is welcomed here at this restaurant. And I love that this Mexican man is probably very aware of what we're posting online on the other channels. and he's all embracive. And this is to support small business, and also for the Perez sisters to share some of their insight, their happy hour messages. So Gran Morelos, spaces limited, call for reservations. And tis all. The replay is on Tuesdays or Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Excuse me, 8 a.m. at via the New York Freedom Fighters on IG. And if anyone doesn't have anything else, oh, thank you, Steph, for joining us. It was really delightful to have you on the space, and also appreciate Jacob, who joined us earlier. And Danny, we look forward to having you speak on the next space and shouting out Gibson. We haven't spoken on the next space, I believe, this year together, but always great to have you on. And shout out to all of the Freedom Fam that are here. God bless you. Have a powerful week and keep on shining. See you next Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this space. God bless you, everyone.